Welcome everyone. We're going to be talking today about how to develop Blazor and desktop application, in this case, Windows application, with a single code base using XAF. So if you guys have followed a lot of, and we have been doing a lot of summary, a lot of Blazor, but one of the things that we have focused on is a line of business app. And for line of business app, we strongly believe that XAF is the best framework out there, and we'll show it here why. In this meetup, we have talked already about Uno, we have talked already about Avalonia, we have talked already about Blazor, about Maui. So I think that this is kind of the culmination of all the .NET cross-platform that we think you can get several targets. So right here, we're targeting Blazor and Windows, and of course, the Blazor part, we can use it in a mobile device. So here with me is Jocho Ojeda. Jocho is a DevExpress MVP, and he will give us a quick rundown of what is XAF and just show a quick demo to get you guys excited. My whole goal for this video today is that you see how fast and how productive can we be with XAF, and how easy it's like in 20 minutes, get a prototype done. In 20 minutes, get a sample application. And Coach, if you want to introduce yourself, let's get started.
Yep. Okay. So basically, let me move to slide number 2. That's me. My name is Jose Manuel Ojeda. Everyone calls me Joche. It's my childhood nickname. So in internet, people know me as Joche. Basically, I work for Bit Frameworks and Sari. And what we do is in those companies is line of business application development, and for that we use XAF framework. So that's my contact information, and you can reach me there if you have any doubt after this talk. And well, I wanted to give you guys like an introduction of an application framework and how this can help you in your development flow in general. So let's start. Okay, this is the agenda for today. Basically is an overview for people who have never used something like XAF. So we'll start with an overview, then we will check why we're going to use XAF. I mean, what is the value of it? Then some type of terminology, because the concepts that we will talk not about code exactly. There are some abstractions in there. Then we'll do a small demo, which is the part that I like the most, because it's where you show how powerful is something like XAF. Then we will talk about the community, some resources, and what is the future for XAF and mobile development. And then we can have like some questions and answers. So first, this is the little overview, more in the conceptual way or the architectural way. So basically, XAF is an application framework which is created in an agnostic manner. That means that everything is, imagine that the core of XAF is a console application, and then you have sub-implementations for different platforms. And for platforms, I mean something like Windows Forms, Blazor, or Web Forms. Or even if you feel like you want to implement a new platform, you can actually get the core that is agnostic and re-implement it in something different, like Uno, Avalonia, or whatever you want. So it's up to you to create a new platform if you really want it. But with the ones that they have, Windows Forms is a super mature platform, Blazor and Web Forms, so it's more than enough to cover almost all possible scenarios. So let's see, what do we have here? So this is the idea here. So we have the basic part, which is the ORM. Actually, just before this meetup, we had another meetup where we talk about the possible ORMs for XAF. it was originally developed for XPO, which is the ORM that Developer Express owns. And then they introduced compatibility with Entity Framework. So this is the foundation part of XAF. Then on top of that, you have a set of class libraries with a few models that you can use. For example, the model for user, for country, for report, for customer, for person, all of those you already have in most of the applications that you will do in general. So they propose a solution for that, but you can create your own or extend what they are proposing. So then we have the specific code that you will create. Those are your classes, your domain components, and everything. And in a XAF application, you control the logic and the interaction between your code and the user with controllers. This can be view controllers or Windows controllers. And again, you have a set of pre-built controllers because they also offer modules in general. We'll talk about those later, but with XAF, you get a huge set of controllers that control the basic operation for the application. Those can be something like the CRUD operations, reporting, analytics, and things like that. And then you have your own set of controllers, right? The one that you're going to create. And then these end up in the application. In this case is Windows Forms, ASP.NET, which is web forms, and mobile. But you can include like Blazor or something like here in between. This is a really kind of old picture. So is this part of ASP.NET, it's actually referring to web forms. So, and also this thing here on the side is the most beautiful thing actually about using an application framework, which is the application model, which is like a soft configuration layer for all the possible parts of the application. It's a huge centralized like repository of settings that you can change for user and for application to have different, basically, you can have different configurations and so different that they might look like a totally different application in general. So the concept of everything in that the user will see is kind of soft. You can play around with it. It's an XML layer. I will show you guys a little bit of that a little later, like later in the presentation. So, well, we know the platforms that we can target. Also, something else about XAF is that it's a really mature framework. At the moment, I don't remember exactly how old it is, but it's around 18 years old. So it's a really mature framework with millions of cases for, all possible business cases they can have, or people can ask, they have seen already. So there is a lot of experience integrated in the framework already for most possible business cases. To be honest, at this moment, I cannot see a case that we cannot cover using XAF. But I've been using the framework since day one. So it's kind of you do this with experience, right? Like at the beginning, you will see the CRUD operations, but then you can find more complicated business cases for this. So it uses XPO, as we said before, and in this framework. So when you use an ORM, one of the beauties is that you can do an abstraction for the database connectivity. So you create your code, and your code is kind of agnostic to the database. And then you switch the connection provider in the case of XPO, and then you can connect to a different database, right? They offer 14 database engines officially. Actually, there are more than that in general, maybe around 25 now. We also have developed a few connectors for a specialized connector for other databases like DB2 which is for AS400 servers of IBM, and SAP HANA. Now they provide actually the official connectivity for SAP HANA, but we created the first version. And well, you can extend that in many cases, but that's not XAF, that's XPO in general. Well, you can use this type of framework for small to medium ERP applications. And I can even say big. But the thing is that this is not a magic solution. There are moments in the development cycle in any application. It doesn't matter if you use an application framework or not. Of course, it would be better if you use an application framework. But there are cases where it's not only about the code, it's about the infrastructure, how you deploy your application. So there is a moment when your application is getting bigger in a number of users that the solution is not completely related to the code that you wrote. It's mostly related to the infrastructure that you have. And well, of course, one thing that we have here is like SAF now runs over Blazor. So there is a bright future in there. Like there are a lot of possibilities. If you have used Blazor before, you know how easy to integrate any type of web pattern in Blazor applications is. So then that makes SAF even more extensible than it was before. So let's see. Let's move forward here. Okay, so these are like some of the reasons why I think it's important to use something like SAF or in general an application framework. First is developer productivity. Most of the things that you think that are unique for your application, they're actually really common. And you don't want to come up with a solution for common problems all the time, in the sense that how do I use concurrency in my application? How do I use the fair deletion in my application? You can either come up with a different version of those, with a different solution for those type of problems all the time, every time that you want to start a new application, or use something like an application framework where all of that is already done for you. You only have to either use the default settings or modify the settings a little bit. But most of the problems of line of business application are covered in general in an application framework. So you don't have to think about how you will solve them. You can focus yourself on the business problem itself. Second is that XAF, the more you know it, of course, is highly, it becomes more customizable for you. And that is there since day one, but usually the barrier in there is how much you know about the application framework, right? Because if you know the right places to modify it, then you end up having a really customized application. So because this in the end is a .NET application, and if you get the subscription for XAF, you get the source code for XAF, so you can go to really low levels to modify anything that you need. So even to the point of recompiling the source code. So then it's up to you how deep you want to go on your customizations, but basically everything is customizable. The other thing is that this gives you a common language for your team. For example, in our office, everyone uses SAF. Like this kind of one of the requirements. Because why? Once you start using an application framework in a company, then it means that all the applications will be developed in kind of the same way. Maybe you have some different variations between versions, but everything will be exactly conceptually the same. For example, you can refer to the screens as views. Then you can refer to the data access as domain components. So people will start using the same language. A validation will be done mostly in the same way for all the possible applications that you will have in your company. So it means that if one of the developers leave the company, a second developer can take over the application in a really fast way. So you don't have too much to understand custom code, because if I teach how to use SAF for enterprises. Like I go to companies and I tell them, okay, this is how we use an application framework. And when I ask how do you do a validation? Then, and I ask the people to answer, the students, they will say like, I do a store procedure. Then the other person can say something like, I do it in the UI. Then someone else can say, I create a helper class. So then if you have 5 developers, each of them will come with a different solution. So when you use an application framework, you use the validation engine that they have. So everything becomes more common. So it's easy to take over someone else's code. So that's kind of really nice in general. This is customer focused. So most of the things that exist in XAF improve the user experience. You will see the UI. The UI that they create is beautiful. Just to start with a UI like that, it will take a long time. So you're saving time. Like XAF and application frameworks are about saving time. For me, that's the main goal of something like an application framework. XAF, well, now the community is really big. It's getting bigger, and bigger. When I started, it was like kind of like a bubble, and it still is. But there are not other application frameworks as outside that are as friendly as XAF. I've been using a lot of them, and there are not as many. I don't know why the concept of an application framework is not super common. People mostly use custom code, and they start writing like even the data access, like reinventing entity framework, XPO or ADO.NET. So people think that by doing like a lot of low-level code, they feel productive, but it's not. What you need to do is like give a solution to the customer as fast as you can, because you are always running out of time in software development. So, well, you need to kind of hurry in general. And this, for me, will be one of the best reasons to use XAF. Awesome customer support. They have the greatest support that you can imagine. The response period is like really short, like usually like around 24 hours. They give you really good examples and explanations, and they have a lot of cases in the knowledge base. So they can easily refer you to another ticket where they have the same problem as you, and then find a common solution for it. So I think it's like for me one of the main topics to pick any technology. So the customer support is just awesome. There is no other way to describe it. So here are a few concepts that we will see inside of the application. So we will talk about the project structure. This one is something that this is a typo. We will talk about the object space, which is the data access. The views, which are the screens in general. Everything is referred as a view, and we have a few types of views. Then the controllers is how you interact with the application. Then the actions are basically how you will interact with the end user. Something is code that is triggered actually by the end user. Then the concept of modules. Basically, XAF is created on agnostic modules and then platform-specific modules. We'll see that concept a little bit later when we do the demo. Then the application model that we talk about this when I show the architecture. And then the application lifecycle, how you start, how all the development lifecycle works and how it runs in general. And well, like XAF applications are just regular .NET applications. So everything inside of them is .NET. There is no magic concept in there beside that. So this is the concept of views. Basically, views are the screens. We have a few types of views, and you can even create your own if you want. But believe me, you don't need it. With what they offer is more than enough. So you have the detail view, which is the concept of a form. Then you have the list view, which is the concept of a grid or a list of records. And then you have the dashboard views. And this is the views hierarchy. You start with the most basic concept of view, which is not related to any type of views. And then you go to the most specialized views like list view and detail view. So controllers and actions, we have a few types of controllers. So we have a few places where we can put the logic. View controllers, which are code that will execute in a specific view. Window controllers that is for code that will execute in a specific window. And then object view controllers, which is an abstraction of the first case of a view controller. You tell specifically where you want to run it. This is more like a programming concept because it's a generic type. And then you have five type of action, yes, because usually we almost never count action URL, but these are how the user will interact with the application. Basically a button or some type of buttons that people can interact with. And when I talk about this, I remember one case that I was talking about these actions, and someone told me like, those are like just not enough. I need like 200 different type of actions. And well, we got to the conclusion that he didn't need 200 type of action. In these 5 actions, you basically can define all the possible interactions that your user will have with the application. So having an application framework narrows down your concept of what you need to do for an application. So that's one of the main gains that you will have by using an application framework. So these are the modules, the modules that come with XAF. So in here you can create your own modules. Like if you can structure your custom development into modules, so you can be extended your development. These are the ones that they offer. There are some of them that are considered the system module, which is the core functionality for the CRUD operations. And then you have the extra modules that are stuff beyond the CRUD operations that you might not need in your application. So you pick and choose what you want to include. So one of the things that are more important for me is, and here actually they are highlighted, is the conditional appearance module, which is how you will modify the UI depending on some business rules, and the validation module, because as I talked before, if I ask 5 persons to do a validation inside of an application, they will come up with different methods. So in this case, everything is like created for you, like a set of rules that you need to apply. So you just need to apply the rule and write the rule. I mean, pass the values that you need to evaluate. But beside that, how it will happen is already done for you. So let's move forward. Well, like this is some part of the communities. We have some frameworks over the framework, like Ultra and Span. Then we have the modules from another company that is called Lamachant. And then some other, well, in GitHub, you can find a lot of other collaborations. And here there are like a few pictures of the companies that can give you support in XAF. Actually, here we're missing one, which is Sari. So I think I need to update the presentation. But anyway, so the community is great. We have not only the people from Developer Express pushing the framework, so there is also a lot of effort. There are a few communities. There is one in Spanish, one in English. The one in English is kind of really big right now and getting bigger. So I strongly suggest you to go and check the community modules and in general the community of XAF. So well, like it's time, I guess, for a demonstration. So let me stop sharing for a while and start the studio, and we'll make a SAF application. Okay, let's share again. Okay, so what you're seeing is what will be the flow for a SAF application in general when you start a new application. So in this case, we're going to do a new application for XAF 22 version 1. They usually release around three versions per year. So this will be SAF Arizona Mira. So let's start a new application. So basically here you can decide if you're going to go to Net Core, which is Net Core, Net 5, and Net 6, or Net Framework, which are the old versions of the framework that are only for Windows. So we're going to start for a Net Core in this case, Net Core application. So in here they ask you which versions of platform you want to include. Blazor is the one selected by default. You can select Windows Forms if you want, and now they include a new kind of, I don't know if I should call it a platform or not, but they create an API out of your application, so that's really neat, because you can use that API to interact with other systems in your organization. And they are really focused into getting you started with the testing culture, so you can even do or include a test project. So they have a special kind of language for the testing, or you can do your own testing using any testing framework that you want. So next step, here we have to choose which ORM we want to use. Even though soon Entity Framework Core will be the default one because they have the bigger community. They developed this framework originally for XPO. So I've been using XPO for a really long time. So we will do an XPO application. Most of the code that you will find out there is related to XPO actually. So then this is also a new option. You have the layering of the project, like which was agnostic module, platform module, and then a platform application. And for some people, having like 3 projects per platform was like kind of too much, because they were used to have only a single project in their application. Everything, there was no library for separating the logic and the UI. So a lot of people requested for this. It took years for them to make it like this. So now that I have it, it's like, well, I kind of don't like it anymore because I'm used to having the 3 separation layers. So we're going to do separate projects so we can see more about the architecture. Authentication, we will include a standard authentication with username and password. And you can include subtypes like Windows Active Directory or OAuth providers. And for the security, we'll use client-side security. So let's continue with this. These are the possible modules that you want to include. They include this because before you have to do some more steps and go to the designers, but the designers are not working anymore for Net 5 and Net 6. Maybe they will work again in the future, but that's something that is not a decision of Developer Express. It's something that is related to the current state of the Net framework, Net 5 and Net 6. So in here, we will add a few modules, the one that I think that are useful for any application. So clone object, conditional appearance, reports, and validation. So finish. Okay, so this is, well, I should not have closed that. They show you a little bit of information where to go to start and everything. But now let's do it like, let's get our feet in the water. So this is the structure of the application. Basically, you have an agnostic module. Everything that is code related should be there. Most of the stuff that are not UI, so data access, anything that is agnostic that will work for all the possible platforms, Windows Forms, Web Forms, or Blazor, should be written in there. So the main characteristic of this is that it doesn't contain any platform specific references. So it doesn't include a reference to Windows Forms, web forms or to Blazor in general. So it's purely like will be something like a console application. Then you have the oh, I thought I select the project per platform, but it's sometimes I don't know, depending on the configuration that you choose. I think that they still have problems with that. They created a single project solution, which is not single project in general, but what I wanted to show you is that you have the agnostic one, and then the platform one and the application are the same. So in here you will have the application and a Windows module in general. So you will do all your code in here that is related to a Windows application, and then you will have all your code here that is related to a Blazor application. And then you have the API and the test project. So, okay, so we have the application running. Let's just set this as a start. And let's compile it the first time. I'm having a problem here, so let me stop sharing for a while. I start doing some applications, and I use my desktop folder. And if you put it in there, and if you have your account attached to OneDrive or to a cloud user, then it will not compile. It will show some security errors. So let me move the application to the right folder. Okay, and we're back. I think I'm sharing a screen again. Let's see. Yes. So let's compile this for the first time. Okay, so as you can see, a lot of little parts of the application have been created for you, like the splash screen, and you will see the login screen. And you can even log into the application after 1 minute that you have created it. So admin. Right now, it's creating the database for us. And in this case, since we're using XPO, there is no migrations to do. Let's see. Demos like this usually never, ever fails in any possible way. But maybe my database engine is going crazy. So let's see. Well, everything looks fine in here. So if not, we're going to change the instance of the engine. I have a few of them, so maybe my computer is angry towards me because I was using Entity Framework before. So I was like kind of cheating on XPO. Okay, so you know how it is. You're sharing one screen and it always shows in the other one. I usually don't share this one. I share the other screen and it shows on this screen. And now that I'm sharing this, it shows in the other screen. So, okay, so this is the application that is been created for us. This is like basically the boilerplate code, like everything that you need, like the menus and so on and so forth, navigation items. So we have all these sections already, which only are including some sections that are created by the modules and the security system. As you can see, if we go here, we can see 2 users, information for my user and information for the roles. So, and if I go here, let me put this on the side. You will see that we will have a database for this application. So let's see. So where is here, this one. So all the tables and everything was created for us. So we didn't need to create the SQL or the migration for this. And let me show you how magical this is. So let's add a domain object, which is the concept of a table in here. So new dev express item. And of course, the most famous object is customer. And after that, let's add a few properties. Here they have specialized shortcuts to make the property. So I will use XPS for string property. And then a Boolean like active or XPV active. Let's run this. So we have customers in here and we can create one. This will be me. And we have the list and then the other type of view, which is the detail view, which is a form. So see how simple it is to include new entities. And when you refresh this, a new table has been created for us with all the columns and everything that we need, and also some extra columns for something like concurrency and deferred deletion. So even more extra functionality that we don't need to write. That's the best code, the one that you don't need to write. So now let's make this a little bit bigger, kind of really fast because we don't have too much time. So let's add a few objects. This will be invoice. And then here we'll have a date. We will have a reference to the customer. A customer can have a collection of invoices, so XPA for a reference. Customer invoice. And now we have something that is extra in the new versions that are the static analyzer is telling me that this association doesn't have another side. So we need to create the other side right now. So this will be XPCL for the other side of the association. This will be invoices. Invoice. And we need this attribute. I'm just always copy this and see. There is a question there. So if you can type your question in the chat, Alberto, we'll gladly take a look to it. So okay, we have the association in here. And then let's make another association. We need the invoice details, right? So in here, we don't need this to go to the menu, so to the navigation menu, so I will delete this. In XAF, everything is done by decorations, by attributes. Most of the stuff is metadata that you include in your objects or in your classes to define how the UI will work. So this will be easy. XP double for quantity, XP decimal for unit price, and XP decimal for total. And then we need, of course, a product. So I will just add a simple string for this. XPS product. And then the association with the invoice. So XPA invoice. And then we copy this. The association is already, the static analyzer is already telling us, okay, you're missing the other side of this. So here we need, this is wrong. This should be customer. Okay, so this should be customer invoices. So XPCL invoice details. Invoice detail. So far so good. We have created like a master detail association for the customers, the invoices, and then the invoice details. If in here I need to check because it looks like I named this property wrong at the beginning. But let's see, let's try to run it and let's see how much is getting done for us. Javier, maybe you can help me in the chat. There are like 2 questions in there. So, okay, so far the code that we created was good because the associations are correct. If not, the application will not start. So I have a customer here. Now I have a collection of invoices. So I can create a new invoice for me. Then the date is today. And the customer, it will be actually me when I save this.
Well, yeah, also the questions on the chat are related to code. Sure. If we know we do those code templates that we basically type XPS and it expands and the string property, XPB, it expands and a Boolean property. I want to mention that CodeRush is a free tool. Before we have to pay for that tool, but right now CodeRush is free for everyone. So you can create your own templates. You can do anything you need to. So yeah, definitely check it out. It's a great tool. And like we say, if you go and use CodeRush for a while, like programming without it, it feels like you are naked.
Yes, it's like typing in Notepad if you don't have it for me.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Okay, we have here the application. Basically, we have the CRUD maintenance for the entities that I just created. And if we go to the invoices here, we can add invoice details. And then product test, quantity 1, unit price 2, and then the total is 4 because it's 2 by 2. But of course, you can make business code to trigger those calculations. So see how much is done for you, and we already have more tables in here. So this demo is taking me like 7 minutes or something like that, and see how much I have already. You will never do this type by trying controls and creating the input and so on and so forth. So this is a great tool to do prototyping and to show some advanced, some demos to your customers. So, okay, since this is an introduction, I don't want to go deep on this. I just want to add, for the customer, I will add a rule. Rule required. So, name. This is how easy you make. Well, I don't need, for rule require, I don't even need to set the ID. How easy you make a validation rule. And let's say that we also want to make the active property disabled, like not being able for the users to click it on the UI without executing some process. So for that, I will use an appearance rule. And then I need to set an ID, demo rule. Then enable, I want that to be false. So I want what I'm going to set here to be not enabled. So target item. In here, I can specify more than one, but I will specify just the active property. And that's it. And then you can even use a criteria to disable it or enable it depending on the state of the object. So that's it. Let's run this again. Right now, I have written only agnostic code, and then I will run the application in Blazor, and you will see that everything that I did for the Windows application is running on Blazor. So that gives us a little step further to mobile in general, because you can use like responsive applications to use it in mobile devices. So let's see. Let's try to create another customer. You will see that this, is active. I put the wrong property. Oh no, this is a user, customer here. Let's create a new customer. See, active is not enabled. I cannot click it. Now, see, there is an asterisk in here because this is required. If I try to save, it says that the name must not be empty. So this will be Javier. And now I did accomplish my business goal in general. I validate the object. Some of the stuff are disabled depending on the state of the object. So let's close here. And before I move to Blazor to do the last part of the demo, I will just create a controller. Controllers are the way that you interact with the user in general. So let's create a view controller. So this will be customer controller. And in here, basically, you add actions. So before you had a designer for this, but now you have code rush shortcuts. So let's define a simple action. So staff action simple. And this will be enable customer. You can tell this controller to show only for some type of object. So we'll use target object type for that. Equals type of customer. Import the namespace. So this action and controller will be only running over the views that are in top of a customer view. So here I have the handler for that action. Basically, it's a button. So here I can tell something like this view current object, and we cast this as a customer. And of course, I don't even need to put it in a variable. I can do something like this, and then I will have the active property here. This is .NET casting in general, so I don't have to explain this. True. Or we can do it to, let's do something. Let's put this in a variable. Introduce local. And this will be, every time that we click it, will be doing the opposite. And then in the end, we need to tell, okay, we have modify this object in code. So we need to commit it. So this view object space commit changes. And let's run this. I will run this. Oh, an error because I wrote the wrong commit changes. There you go. So let's go to Javier and set him active. I have my action here. I didn't put the caption for it, so it's showing the same name as that was in the ID. So if I click here, see now it's active. You can save, and you see when it's active, when it's not active. And then to finish the demo, I will show this on Blazor. So whatever we did, we already have it for two different applications, for Windows and for web. So far it's less than 15 minutes since we have started writing code. And even with me talking, see how much we have done already. So imagine how fast you can go if you really know how to fix the business problem you need to fix, and if you know the platform enough. I don't systems in 20 minutes with this. Okay, so here let's log in. We'll use the same user as the one in Windows Forms. And we will have the same data here. So Javier Hoche, we have the action. So let's go here and let's see, okay, this is not active as it's not active in Windows Forms. And we can activate the customer like this and see it's saved already. So everything is working the same. The layout is a little bit different because it's a different platform, but see, we have two applications already done in less than 15 minutes with at least 4 or 5 tables. You cannot do that in any other thing, in any other platform.
Hey, Hoche, we have been using stuff like forever, and every time that I say this, it's just like,
yeah, I saw you smiling, so I thought, okay, like you get the feeling again. This is try to do this in. We can make a competition to see who can make the bigger application. Someone who do it by hand or with other framework like Magic or ADF and XAF. And if you put an expert in all of them, I think in XAF you will do it faster. In any case, so I don't think there is any other way to do something like this. So, well, that was kind of the technical demo so far. So let's go back to the presentation. It's only about a few slides more. So let's see. Let's fast forward to almost the last one. Demo is done. It was fast and it was beautiful. Well, this is some links for the community. I really encourage you guys to join the community. We have a huge community in Facebook for English speaker. Also, there is one for a Spanish speaker because Javier and me, we are kind of in charge of those communities. And of course, we are a Spanish speaker. We have a meetup every month just related to XAF and mostly developer express technologies, but we talk about a lot of .NET things in general. So there is the link for Gear for LinkedIn, and also you can look for me in YouTube. I have a lot of videos related to XAF and .NET development in general. Also, you can look for the videos of Lamachan from Dave and Adam. And let's see what else we have. More resources. This is like a few links or where you can find more information about self-development, tricks, tips, and maybe any type of discussion about these technologies. We are also active in Twitter. Not that much anymore, I think, but every time that I make a new video, for example, I post it in there. You will not see anything that is not video from me in there, at least in my Twitter. But we have people that is really active in the community. Those are the handles. And please subscribe to XAFers Weekly. We make a publication every week about one tip related to XAF. We have a platform for finding XAF developers and offering XAF jobs in general. So that's xafers.jobs. And we have a training site where we offer specialized training for .NET applications and XAF. So let's see what else I'm missing in here. We have our personal blogs in here. And well, these are the kind of the next step in general. Maybe one day, again, in this meetup, we'll do some more advanced kind of integrations, because we have done integrations with all these technologies, with Uno, with Maui, with Xamarin, with APIs like REST APIs. That was something that didn't come with XAF before, but now it comes already with XAF. And this is one of what people like the most is we have created, but this is, SARI, tool for doing data synchronization. That is one of the most requested features that is kind of really complicated if you want to do it by hand, but we have a tool that make it in that few lines. So these are like kind of the extension points where you can go after developing your application with XAF. You can reuse your ORM, use your API that XAF create for you. So then the world is in your hands. And well, basically that's it. Thank you all for coming. I know that is the end of the day for you. And you're still here, like watching us writing code. So Javier, back to you.
Oh, hey, Jose, thanks for the presentation. That was awesome. I have seen this presentation in English, in Spanish, and several variations of it, and I'm still amazed, and I still get excited. I still again, too big to develop the line of business application. So that's it for today. Next month, we're going to be talking about machine learning and Maui. So stay tuned and see you guys in the next one.
Okay, bye. Thanks.